of America, which is Vishwa Hindu Parishad of America, and I'm the incoming president of the World Hindu Council of America. I have been doing various Hindu-related activities in U.S., ranging from founding of Hindu Students Council to American Hindus Against Defamation, Hindu Pact, and several of the other initiatives on internet called HinduNet and others. I am politically a centrist. I am, I'm really glad to be in this company. Our overwhelming goal that I have is betterment and of human beings, helping other people, and really, how we can bring people together with, using the core philosophies that have emerged out of India, and how we can alleviate the sufferings that human beings have in this world, which is why I do what I do. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. I want to have only one ground rule on this meeting, and that is do not blame others, respect others, explain your viewpoints, listen to other people's viewpoints, not with a view to get others to change their mind. Now, we will create team number 1 and team number 2. Ketan Patwardhan, can you announce the members of team 1 and team 2? And team 1 will be asked the question first. Thank you. Anyone from team 1 can answer it.
So open all the. So team 1 is going to be Mr. Ajay Shah, Mr. Ajit Pant, Mr. Imtiaz, Mr.
No. You've got it wrong.
I'm mixing the two, right?
Yeah, you're mixing the two.
Yeah, that's right.
Team 1 is Ajay, Dr. Bharat Barai.
Ajay Shah, Ajit Pant. You're right. Mr. Bharat Barai and Mr. Nand Garg.
Right, thank you.
Sorry, my fault.
And team 2?
Team 2 is Mr. Imtiaz, Mr. Kuldeep Shra, Sammy, and Venkat.
Thank you very much. Okay, question for team 1. You have 5 to 7 minutes to answer it. Any one of you or all 4 of you can answer it. Yeah. Question 1. False stereotypes that are on your own side. Be specific and that they are misleading towards your side. Team 1. Go ahead. Any one of you can answer the question.
Maybe rest of us can be on mute if you don't mind.
Yeah, can you repeat the question a little bit?
Okay. More? The question is, looking at our government today, what are the false stereotypes on your side of your own side on the government? Be specific, and that these stereotypes are misleading.
For us, if it's okay with my other colleagues, I will take a first crack at it.
Sure.
This is a very mischievous and misleading question. It's almost like asking me, when did you stop beating your wife? Well, wait a minute. When did I ever beat that this question has to be asked? So this is how the mischief is played. If you have any specific question or any specific thing, please ask for it. So then we have a chance to repudiate it. Otherwise, my answer is, BJP is a very diversified party of all people who are self-made. It consists of people of all religions, and there are no fixed stereotypes except the only stereotype that have how to make India a better country, how to make it self-reliant, and how to help the common man and raise the living standard of all. So I'm sorry, I object very much to pardon me, mischievous question.
Okay. Anybody else on team 1 would like to answer the same question?
Yeah, so I was actually thinking, were you talking about America or you're talking about India? So,
I'm talking about India.
Okay, so, I mean, I don't know the background behind it, but it seems like the focus of the conversation here would be India-based or India-focused, right?
Right.
Yes.
So, again, I didn't get the question, to be honest, properly, what exactly you're trying to reach. Because then you say that what is wrong. I don't know what you mean by what is wrong.
Okay. Anybody else on team one?
Yeah, I would tend to agree with Dr. Barai that this is a kind of a leading question, and not really the right way to go about creating an environment for conducive that is conducive to mutuality. You know, this a question that is more towards exclusion. You know, that you're trying to. What is the goal of this meeting? I think it is inclusiveness, right? And I think we should focus more on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else
So
from team one?
I tend to agree. I think a better question probably would have been, what do you see as your side contributing in terms of betterment of India, in terms of betterment of people in India, rather than what are you fighting against? So we are all here to make positive contributions and not really, counter and fight anything. So I would accentuate the positive that all of us are doing and find common grounds there.
Okay, Ajay, go ahead and accentuate the positives.
So very simple. We and World in the Council of America and other organizations that are doing a lot of activities in Bharat and outside of Bharat, we base our work on some of the basic guiding principles of Hindu Dharma. One of them is Ekam Sata Vipraho Bahuda Vadanti. The truth is one, but the sages or the wise people or people see it in different ways, and that makes us very accepting of other philosophies, makes us very accepting of other viewpoints. The other one is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which is entire universe is one family. When we say entire universe is one family, we are not saying that, we are not saying that, oh, you belong to one particular country, you belong to another particular country, as long as you adhere to these core principles. And the third one is Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, let everyone in the universe be happy and well. So if we base our philosophy, if we base our thinking on these core principles, then we can find a lot of common ground among all the people who are in this Zoom call and people who are outside of this Zoom call. So I think this is the positive that I would like to accentuate. How do we bring people together rather than saying that what are you fighting against?
Okay.
But I maybe.
Wait. Team one, we are going now to go to team two. Please, all on team one, go mute, and team two. Question for team two. What do you think India stands for today? Team two. Imtiaz, could you start out for team two? What do you think India stands for today? Imtiaz?
I think he stepped out, so maybe anybody else can from team two.
Oh, team two. Kuldeep?
I mean, I
can go ahead.
Yeah. So the way I see it, right, probably a slightly different view. I see India very similar to what USA has gone in the last few years, right? There is a lot of patriotism, a lot of nationalism, very religious driven in terms of the ideologies, is what I see. And somebody talked about inclusiveness. I feel the way India stands today, I see there is more exclusion than inclusiveness from an outside perspective.
I need to say a few things. In 1975, Indira Gandhi was the Prime Minister, and she declared internal emergency to have better control of the situation because her election was not justified. And I spent 6 months with all the political leaders of that time in Central Jail, Patiala. We were all interned for 6 months because we were all politically active and we were in the government's red book. And there in that jail, we spent 6 months with BJP leaders and leaders from other parties. They were all the three colors of communist parties. And we used to eat together, have a stage every day, and talk about the life before the emergency and what is going to be after that. And that living together in one roof brought us together. I came to know more about, at that time, it was not BJP, I think it was Jan Sangh. I came to know about their leaders more, and they came to know about us. I can tell you how much ignorance was there before on every side. I'll give you one little example. Patala jail is a big campus. We used to walk, there's a farm inside. And one day I was with another friend, we were walking, and we met two young men from RSS, because RSS cadre was also interned at that time. And we usually, whenever we met anybody, we asked which party you belong, which is your political ideology. And they asked us, and I told them. And they were looking up and down at me. They thought that those communists who believe in guerrilla warfare, they are like gorillas. They have fur on their body. So they were looking for fur on my body. And there was so much ignorance about each other. So at that time, there was close communication, and we came to know about each other. And there was an environment. We used to listen to Atal Bihari Vajpayee and others, and we came to know that we have more in common than not. And that environment, which then resulted in defeating Indira Gandhi and bringing in the BJP government. The reason I'm telling you this personal story is this, that closeness is not there at this time. Now BJP is in power, and but that kind of bond which was there at that time is missing now. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Kuldeep. Imtiaz?
Can you please repeat the question?
Okay. What are your concerns about the leaders at the present time?
Leaders in India, you mean?
India, yes, we're talking about India.
Well, the main expectation for any person in any country should be that governance should be for the common good. Everybody should have confidence in the fairness of the system and equal justice for all under the same law. If those things are practiced, I think everybody will be comfortable with it. Now, the problem is, as they say, actions speak louder than words. If the actions are not consistent with the words, then obviously people focus more on the actions rather than the words. And in this case, I think what needs to be done is for better governance, fair implementation, equal implementation of the law of the land, justice, and equality of opportunity for everybody. And I think that would be a great hope and progress for India as a country and the society as well.
Thank you. Sammy?
Yes, as Indian, as an Indian and especially as an Indian Muslim, the most serious concern that haunts me is in last couple of years, Muslims have been asked to prove their Indianness or their patriotism towards India. And that is the matter of great concern. We have been living in India for generations and generations, for hundreds of years. And at this point in time, when we are asked to prove our patriotism, either asked directly or indirectly, in words or in action, so that becomes a bothersome thing. And as an Indian Muslim, I feel myself lost how to prove my Indianness, what is expected and what more should be done to prove that and that I'm an Indian. As I say Indian, I'm born Indian, I live in India, I lived in India, so, and I love India because India is my country. So that is the biggest bothersome thing for me.
Okay. Anybody else would like to speak for team 2? Okay. Let's go back, put team 2 on mute and everybody else on mute and go back to team 1. Team 1, question 2. What lends you to support the current policies of the present administration? Team 1, what leads you to support the current policies of the present administration?
For us, again, just numerically, I will take the track. Again, your question is very broad-based. I think if there are any specific policies that you have in question, you can point out. But be as it may, there is a broad base. Most of the policies that Narendra Modi government is pursuing are related to development of India. As we learned, India will be the 3rd largest economy in the world by year 2030. Atmanirbhar, make India dependent on itself. Unfortunately, we have 2 bad neighbors. One, Pakistan, which is a religiously zealot country. Their goal is how to destabilize India, how to hurt India, rather than spending the resources, how to benefit the people of Pakistan. The day people of Pakistan realize that they should spend the resources for the betterment of their own people and not worry about India, I think there will be peace between India and Pakistan. China is another country which has its own goals, and they cannot stand the upbringing of India, India coming to be an economic power and military power. So the country is trying to make itself dependent and strong in defense. Economically, Narendra Modi government has done a lot in last 7 years, then last 65 years to try to upbring the common man. So as far as I'm concerned, the government is very receptive to whatever are the concerns of the common people. One thing which is misunderstood in democracy, yes, there should be consensus as far as possible, but when the consensus cannot be obtained, then the majority rule comes. And that happens here also, that Democrats are looking to have 50 members in Senate and have the vote of Kamala Harris to break the tie if necessary. So there is a very wrong perception in democracy that everybody has the right to have their own decision. Whatever I say, if that happens, then it is democracy. Whatever anybody else, if 80% people think one way, then 25 people have the right of veto power, and that is democracy. And that is what guys like Rahul Gandhi think, that unless the Nehru-Gandhi family, whatever it says happens, then it is a democracy. Otherwise, it's not a democracy. So I think everything that the government is trying to do is trying to keep a goal, how the common man and most of the people can benefit socially, economically, and of course, as a nation, military. And they are always open, I'm sorry, they are always open to suggestion and think over. You know, after you give suggestion, if they don't agree, that doesn't mean that there is no democracy. You gave your opinion should be considered. And that's what Narendra Modi said 2 days ago, that we don't have the monopoly on wisdom. We are willing to listen to people and see how things can be done in a better way. I think that's a very open, very wise attitude. Okay, we don't have the monopoly on wisdom. Tell us, we are willing to consider. And then after consideration, if we think we can amend it, but if at the end they come to the conclusion that no, something is better than others, then minority or the people who have their own views should be willing to accept and fight the next election, have their view prevail, and become the next Prime Minister of India and form the government.
Thank you. Anybody else from team one, please answer the question. What leads you to support the current policies of the present administration?
Yeah, I would like to add that the present government has been one of the most progressive governments that we have had in the last 72, 73 years. And I'm not saying in unitary term, I'm also saying that today, globally, it has been recognized as the most progressive government across the world. The leadership of the present Prime Minister has been acknowledged, you know, and the image that India and Indians have had during the last 6-7 years has been tremendously improved over the previous years. So, I mean, going by some of these parameters, I think we can very safely say that the present regime has been good for India. The other, on another plane, which Mr. Dr. Barai did not mention, it is one of the most or the least corrupt regimes we have had in several decades. Right from Nehru's time, that we have had scandals in big corruption cases, but today we don't hear that kind of a story. I mean, so to that extent, I think we have a progressive and
thank you.
Government.
Thank you, Ajit. Anybody else from team one?
Something which I would like to contribute is, I mean, I have been watching Indian politics for a long time. And somehow I think this leadership, which came in 2014, is rooted at the grassroots level. Here is a person who knows what India needs. So far, we had people who ruled the country, but here is a person who is trying to govern the country, understand what the common person's needs are, and he's focused on this. So I think one of the biggest contributions of current leadership in India is exposing the hypocrisy of the leaders of other parties and making common person understand what a leader could be. And in going forward, people will demand better from their leaders. He's going to set a good example that people who want to be leaders of this country, they better be prepared to answer to the public and respect the democracy the way he has respected. So I think this is the biggest contribution I feel. Obviously, economic policies and all that, you can write books about that. But the understanding what common person needs, whether that was the toilet, which prime minister in the world thought about toilet being a problem. But I come from a rural place. I have lived in villages and I know what kind of problem it was. So addressing those things and moving up from those problems and addressing to the level of global issues, whether there's a global warming or solar energy, this is tremendous difference between what we had in the past, what we have currently, and what we will have in future. These leaders of other political parties, because you never know, political parties will change, governments will change. But if you set a standard, what kind of leaders country needs, I think that will be the biggest contribution.
Thank you. Ajay, would you like to add something to this, please?
Yeah, so I'll add one thing, and that is, so I think traditionally for thousands of years in India, ruling of a country, ruling of a state has been considered a part of selfless public service. So selflessness is a key. Sri Ram practiced, was a king, but he was a selfless king, and so on. You can look at throughout the history of India, the great kings of India, whether it is Samrat Ashok, whether it is, whether it is Sri Ram, or whether it is Maharaja Ranjit Singh. These are the kings who are examples of kings who were selfless, and they were more devoted to people rather than, accumulating wealth for themselves. And I think this government in India has come closest since independence to being that public servant in governance. And that is what I really think that distinguishes this government from many of the other governments that have preceded this government in India since independence. And it's not just selflessness, as somebody already mentioned, no corruption and all that, but also making sure that the women are empowered, the tribals, the education reaches the tribals. There is a sense of, there's a sense of independence among Indians, true independence, after 70 years of, the political independence that India achieved. All of this together, I think this, makes this government, something that is more unique in Indian history so far.
Thank you.
Koras, may I add one point which we did not
yeah,
have?
go ahead.
That is about the cleanliness and environment. Going back to the Paris Accord, Narendra Modi had said that not only India will meet the Paris Accord target, but we will exceed it. And same way, when it comes to cleanliness, yeah, India is still fairly dirty country, but having so many millions of people have the toilets now available, the concentration on cleanliness and providing the toilet. And now the next concentration is providing pipe water to every household in India and providing three-phase electricity to every home in India. I think this is a tremendous achievement. Think of it, India has existed as independent country for almost 74 years. Why can't any previous government think that we need to provide toilets to people? Why can't anybody have said we want to provide electricity to every people, or we want to provide pipe water to every people? These problems existed for 70 years. But this is the Modi government that has taken the initiative. Same way about providing natural gas for cooking to all the women. If you think what basic necessity a family needs, he is trying to address it by one. And that is the reason why you think that the one with such big majority, in spite of all the hoopla done by the political parties going on TV, a common man can see how his or her life has improved in all these years. And that's the result you saw in 2019 in the elections.
Thank you, Bharat. We'll go back to team number 2 because we need to give them equal time as much as possible. So team number 2 will come on. Team number 1 will go on mute, please. Team number 2. What concerns do you have? We have heard the explanation from team number 1 of the good work they have been doing. But what concerns do you have about the current government? What concerns, team number 2, what concerns do you have about the current government? Team number 2. Imtiaz, could you start, please?
Yes. I think I did mention something in my previous contribution to this discussion. The concern is, I know there has been progress, but particularly regarding providing toilets or some, gas, easier, but this is also a fact. Now the price of cooking gas is going up, petrol and diesel are very high these days. And there are certain expectations which are not met. The common people are not, some are feeling the benefits of better governance, but others are left behind. That is one problem, especially during this COVID period. Large number of people have suffered a lot. And I know that in February-March period, when all of them were kind of forced to go back to their villages, etc. They suffered a lot, and we also contributed some money from here for feeding people on way to their respective villages and places. So I think what is being done is good, but it is not sufficient. India is a big country, the requirements are huge, and as you would remember, recently you shared some data that in India, like human rights and also um, human index, it has gone below in recent years. So this is not something which we should be happy about. We should be working to improve the situation and make it better.
Sammy, team 2.
I mean, progress is a function of time, irrespective of any government. Had Congress been in the center, then there would have been progress there too. I mean, right from the independence of India, India is progressing. That's why India stands tall in the world now. India is no more India of pre-partition. It is a different India. And Indians are respected all over because of Indianness, because of India, because of their education, their achievements, their capabilities, their honesty, hard work, sincerity, and everything. But despite all that, in last many years, as I said previously, unfortunately, I myself as a Muslim feel discriminated or demonized, for lack of better words. I understand the view of the team number 1 was that it has to be a majority ruling of the opinion of the majority of the public. But at the same time, the opinion of the minority of the public cannot be ignored, cannot be disregarded, and the minority itself cannot be marginalized and disregarded. So as a part of the good governance, there should be equal justice for everyone. No, as BJP always said and says, no appeasement for anyone, justice for everyone. So we are looking for that. If that happens, then everything will become brighter. Thank you.
Team 2.
Yep. I also wanted to add, I mean, you asked about what we see as problem, right? I mean, in the last 4 years, what this country has gone through in the US because of the current president, I think my worry, I mean, growing up in India, I remember I was very secular, used to visit the mosque, church, etc. Right? My biggest worry, and for a lot of us who are very privileged to live in this country, have all the necessary privileges, right? I feel there is a sense of a saffron supremacy that's evolving in India, like the white supremacy that you see here, right? And which is going to probably divide that country more and more. So that polarization effect, while we have done wonders in terms of making progress in terms of economic growth, what this country has gone through is what India will go through in the next 8 to 10 years in terms of the deep divide, in terms of the polarization, because of this whole effect of saffron supremacy is what I fear the most. So.
Okay, Kuldeep, team 2.
Yes, I have a few thoughts on this. That the saffronization is going on at its full speed. Even the textbooks are being changed and the history is being changed. Taj Mahal was not built by Mughal Shahanshah Shah Jahan. That is also being changed. Some other Raja Mahan Singh or somebody, they say he built it. So that is one thing. Another thing about the progress. Punjab, I don't know about all the states in India. I will tell you what I know and I have seen. Punjab was, every village in Punjab was connected with a road, paved road, and all the villages in Punjab had electricity before BJP government came in. So the progress, what they did maybe in some other states, and Punjab was doing very well before them. About the division. If anybody is following the Kisan movement or Kisan struggle for their rights in India, you can see how badly country is divided. Farmers from every state, from Gujarat, from Rajasthan, from Bihar, UP, Haryana, Punjab, and even from Tamil Nadu, are all struggling together as a one unit. And about the corruption, they said that there were scandals in Congress government. I think there are bigger scandals now than they were in the Congress government. How about that? Those Modis who went abroad, and Malaya, what is his name? He was the CEO of the airline. He ran with millions of dollars, and there is a long list. Of one was the jeweler Modi. He ran with the money, and if you calculate the amount of these scandals have involved in it, it's much bigger than the Congress Party scandal. That time was of smaller nature, not as big as it is now. So I am not seeing all rosy, as some of you have said it. And the farmers are struggling for their minimum needs. All they want is their crop to be sold at a fixed price, and so they know what to plant. And those three ordinances which have, they are the farm killers. They are not helping any farmer. They will not help any farmer, and farmers know it. Before, farmers were not mature enough to judge what is behind the script, and now they are, and they will win. You will see. That's all I have to say.
Okay, team two, you still have some more time because
Yes.
we're trying to give equal time. So would you
Right.
like to say something else?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Now, two things. Ajay Shah mentioned about selfless service. I like that idea. I mean, in any progressive, honest society, the politicians should care more for their constituents than for themselves and their families. Unfortunately, in India, except very few exceptions, it has become a profession. Politicians are now a profession and a way of making money. When the MLAs and other elected people are bought, depending on the situation, for 10 crore or 15 crore to switch parties, etc., this is not true democracy. This is not going to deliver for the good of the common people. These guys who sell themselves for 10 or 15 crores and switch the parties, they are looking for themselves. These are sometimes with poor social or educational background. For them, 10, 15 crore is such a huge attraction that they just cannot stand with the party who gave them tickets or they were elected on. This is a very serious concern in my view in India. And just as I think Venkat mentioned that the polarization is already visible, and if it deepens, then it is not going to help in the progress and development of the country. No, as Abraham Lincoln said, a country divided cannot stand on its own, or something like that. So, I mean, we are noticing severe polarization in the United States, but luckily now, hopefully, the new administration will give a different direction. I think we need to be very aware of this fact that polarization in a society on communal or political or whatever is the basis is very detrimental and must be avoided.
We have 2 more minutes for team 2. If you would like to add anything, Venkat, Imtiaz, any one of you, Sammy? Okay. If none of you wish to add, we will now go to the breakout rooms. Ketan will take over for breakouts. Breakout room will be half of team A
Before we go to the breakout room.
No, Ajit. Stay, please. Let's not change. We are going.
would like to
No, wait. We are going to go to the breakout room because we have finished almost an hour. We are going to the breakout room and we are going to have teams. Half of team 1 will be in one breakout room with half of team 2. And half of team 2 will be in breakout room with team 1. So your teams are broken up into 2 breakout rooms. The question for the breakout room is very important. The question is, what did you learn from both sides? We are not here to change minds. What did you learn from both sides? And what common understanding do you have? What did you learn from both sides? What common understanding do you have? And what can we proceed with for the common interest? So, Ketan, please take over. Ketan?
You are mute, Ketan.
Yeah, I just unmuted myself. So I made the breakout rooms. So basically, Mr. Shah, Ajay Shah, Mr. Ajit Pant, Imtiaz, and Mr. Kuldeep, and also Porus, you are part of breakout room 1.
Okay.
And breakout room 2 is Mr. Bharat, Dr. Barai, Mr. Garg, Sammy, and Venkat. Yeah. So I'm going to open all these rooms. Yeah.
Horace was saying not to judge people and not to try to convince each other. I think that's a good idea. I like that. Thank you, Ketan.
I don't know whether it is also about convincing, right? It is about sharing your thoughts and understanding.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because if you start convincing, that's when a lot of problems arise, right? You don't want to be convincing. You want to hear and make your own independent decisions and form your own opinions that you believe fits with your overall perception and ideology.
Absolutely. And I think one of the biggest challenge we face is we don't hear the other party many times with open mind. I mean, what I heard from Sammy, I like that because he's able to express what his fears are.
Right.
And then he also would hear what other party, why they feel strongly about something or other, and then do some introspection like, hey, why does this person think this way? And again, end of the day, we love each other. We are all humans, you know, that's the bottom line. Each one of us has the same goal of having a good life, good friends, good neighbors, and have a wonderful living together.
Yeah,
so I think
as you rightly said, right? I think everybody wants progress, right? I know, although we live far away from the country that we grew up, I think all of us are fundamentally in that same mindset that we want to see progress, we want to see growth, we want to make sure there is inclusiveness. I think the paths or the routes that are taken could be different, but the end goal which all of us want is probably the same, whether we live in India, whether we live in the US, right? So,
Ketan, maybe you want to talk about what the goal of this breakout room is.
Ketan, my only thing is, Ketan, as I mentioned, I will have to drop off. I didn't realize, I thought this was a 1 hour session. I have to pick up my son from...
Yeah, you have another 15 minutes?
Yeah, 15 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, Nanji, the question was basically now you've heard both sides, and what did you learn, and what are the common grounds you think you can come up with?
Right.
So you really have to kind of know what you heard from the other side. What do you think there is a commonality there?
I think one thing which I was almost wanted to address was Sammy's concern about like he being a Muslim and being left out or not feeling comfortable. I think that's a very important question for all of us to understand why that feeling is there. Because one of the reasons I probably feel I can address that a little bit is, first of all, I went through these phases of being a communist in my life, right? As I said, there's not a bigger communist than me at one time, because I used to dream only Fidel Castro and Che Guevara and fighting in the jungles. You know, that's the kind of And I was part of the Nukkad Natak, which was like we used to Shafdar Hashmi, who was the CPIM's cultural ambassador. He was a friend of mine, and I participated with him many Nukkad Nataks. And I have a lot of Muslim friends, even in US. I play cricket, and there are a lot of Pakistani teams and Indian teams. We have Muslims in my team as well. So I personally think this feeling of alienation, or you feeling like Muslims are left out, is unfounded. Unfounded in the sense there's a lot of media which talks about, because this is how the country was being governed, by creating this divide between the communities. And this change in 2014, since Modi came on board, I feel he is the person who is trying to take everybody along. None of his policies discriminate anybody. In fact, Muslims have progressed probably more than any time in the history of India in the last 70 years, even though there was an open appeasement policies. Okay, so my personal belief is you can be a Muslim or a Hindu or a Sikh, doesn't matter, your religion, that's your personal belief. As long as you're a good Hindu, a good Muslim, or a good Sikh, that's what will count at the end of the day. Because there's basic values being taught in everywhere, and we have to be openly looking at the entire picture. Like just yesterday I was, or was it today? I don't know. Yeah, yesterday, Mann Ki Baat, right? I see this guy is making such a big effort to reach out to people. We never had this kind of leadership in the country where there's a dialogue between the people. And Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, or Sabka Vishwas, he added this time again, shows openly how much reach out he wants from the communities. So it may be up to us also, like Sammy, you must have been in many places where people are accusing each other. You said, how can we prove our patriotism? I feel there are some basic things which could have been done. And again, not anybody's asking you, but opposing the things which are hurting other communities is one way to do that, right? When we look at the Kashmiri Hindus issues, how many of Muslims raise that issue as a human rights issue, that there is a torture? But there were people who were fighting for Rohingya Muslims. So there's a reason when some people will develop the doubts. So it's up to the leadership of that community to come out strongly and say, use the same methods, use the same parameters when what they want to be applied to them. And I think that will be a big change in my mind. So I would pause here because we all want to hear from everybody else.
Yeah.
But that's my thing.
People, Sammy, just 10 seconds. We have up to exactly 12:20 before we go back to the bigger group. Okay.
Okay. Yes, that is totally appreciated what Mr. Nand has mentioned, and the rules should be applied equally. If Muslims are concerned with the problems when they face any discrimination or any kind of hate from the other groups, they should be open to support the non-Muslims also who are being persecuted, like Kashmiri Pandits. The Kashmiri Pandit issue has been so badly managed by Congress government right from the inception till today. Even the BJP government has done nothing other than verbal sympathy. So there is a different issue altogether. But when we come to Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, and Sabka Vishwas, here the words do not match with the actions. We say there had been different kind of lynchings, killings of Muslims, and BJP leaders have come garlanding the killers and distributing sweets and celebrating the occasions. So those kind of things speak louder than these words. There's Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas. So if it really is, what is said is really implemented, then nobody will ever have any grievances. Will definitely will never have any grievance, any Muslim or non-Muslim, Sikh or Christian, for that matter. So the need of the hour, need of the time is first thing, to break the barriers of communication between communities. I mean, we do not talk to Hindus and Hindus do not talk to us. Then how do we understand each other if we do not speak with each other? So the effort what Foras Bhai and Venkat is doing, this is commendable, and all the efforts should be made to break the barriers of communication between the communities so we can discuss, understand each other, and remove or correct our perceptions what we have against each other or for each other. Thank
So,
you.
yeah.
So
I'm just
I
trying to
think
I'm trying to interpret these 2 points, and I'm noting down. So we are coming up with a commonality here is support of an issue irrespective of the community or the religion to belong to. With both sides is agreeing that is the common ground. Is that correct what I've noted from both the points?
Yeah, but one thing,
I
I think
think so.
my takeaway was, I think there's a lot of discussion in terms of India, right? But what we don't understand is how do we act as human beings when we are in the US, or what is our ideologies? Is there a clash, right? Because sometimes it's much easier for us to be on the outside and talk about issues, but what are our ideologies? How are we handling the same situation being a brown person in the US, right? I mean, if there is a conflict, then right now, to me, that never got discussed, right? It was all about India. For us, it's easy to say inclusion, economic growth, etc. But a lot of us face the reverse of that, right? So I think, I don't know, not in this conversation, but at some point, that's a relevant conversation to have, right? So when you go through the same situation, does your mind change? Does your ideologies change? Just because you're in a different country now.
True. See, I don't think we only had hour plus for both sides to discuss. We are not going to be able to discuss everything.
Right.
This breakout room specifically is in whatever, even if it was half a point, what did we gather common? Is there a common point that both sides agree? That is the intention. Yeah.
I mean, I thought everybody wants growth, right? Progress. I think that was very clear. How
Yes.
Ketan,
Yes.
may I have floor?
Yes, sir. All yours. Up to 12:20, we have breakout
I'm
room.
trying to answer Sami and even Imtiaz asked. How can the Muslims feel that they are not marginalized? Number one, part of it is subjective feeling. The political parties who use their vote banks have consistently tried to tell the Muslims that other guys are the villains and they are out to get you, and they are doing it to get their votes, use them as a vote bank rather than the fact. So as educated Muslims start thinking about it in an objective manner, what is in their best interest rather than what is being peddled to them by.
Can I interrupt you, Dr. Barai? Sorry, can I interrupt you? We will have to have a separate session. See, this is not to answer. This is
Ketan.
now, this breakout room is specifically for what is the common ground that we think. If you think there's nothing achieved there, that's okay. But we only need
Ketan,
to give.
I'm trying to
No,
answer the very
Dr. Barai, sorry. We will have, if you want, a separate session where we bring both parties and you can have an open discussion. We won't have time for that. Trust me right now. We have 4 minutes left.
I'm
Any
giving the
common
answer
ground?
what can be done, and I'm saying that to my Muslim friends that start thinking objectively, and when Hindus are persecuted, you know, for example, when a girl I'm trying to give them an answer, what can they do? A, become part of the BJP or other political parties. Nobody prevents you. There are Muslim ministers even in BJP. So join there. In Kashmir Development Council meeting, many Muslims became part of the BJP and contested the election. Second thing, take the issue on its merits rather than Muslim. For example, the CAA that was meant to help Hindus who are
Dr. Barai, sorry.
I'm sorry, I beg, you know, please do not dictate my answer. I'm
No.
trying to tell him.
When we go back to the open forum, you can bring it back. No problem. In this, my job is only to facilitate in terms of, in the previous discussion, did you think of any common ground that came out? I mean, I did see what Mr. Garg said and Mr. Sami said, that both sides kind of agree that support of an issue, it can be poverty, it can be anything, irrespective of a community or religion. That kind of seems to be both sides are agreeing to it. I also hear, like Venkat said, progress. Both sides are kind of agreeing that progress is important, irrespective of which side you are in. So those are the common points. Did you hear anything common? That's all, Mr. Dr. Barai. We'll go back open, then you can, because this is not to answer, or this is not to put forth your points on your view. Yeah. Sorry, I don't mean to.
Sorry, I beg to disagree, but you are the conducting, so go ahead.
I mean, if not, we can go back to the, we can open all rooms. I mean, close the room if you guys feel.
I think, Ketan, what I heard Bharatji was trying to say is the same thing which we found common, but he was trying to elaborate in that sense, I guess.
I also thought,
know,
yeah.
That
Yeah.
it's the same thing. Basically, just like any issue, if there is no progress, it impacts Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Christian, no matter who you are, right? The religion should not become a primary focus. The focus should be, can we all live together and move forward? And who are the leaders who are making an effort in that direction?
Correct.
The way we learn how to expose the leaders who are trying to use the religion as the vehicle for their self, then we will be a better society, no matter which country you live, as Venkat said. And in India is suffering from that because there's a lot of history behind it, a lot of persecution of minorities, either way. And another thing which I wanted to mention here, Ketan, is minority is a very wrongly used word, because India is a huge country. There are Hindus who are in minorities in states. In many states of India, Hindus are in minority. And Sikhs and Christians being the minorities, real minorities, why even Muslim friends don't say, we are not minority, guys, stop using us, labeling us as minority. We are 200 million Muslims in the country. So I think there's a lot of things Muslim community can also revisit. Sikhs don't ask for minority status. Christians are not asking for minority status. Why such a huge community is termed as minority by politicians? There's a catch there somewhere.
Ketan, what I was trying to address was, I know the 99 problems. I want the one solution. And we all agree on the goal. Now the question is, how do we do it? And that's what I was trying to address.
Okay, let's go back to the bigger forum. Because I think, Dr. Barai, everybody would want to hear that, right? I mean, not just this room. So I'm going to close this room so that we'll go back to the bigger forum. Venkat, I think whenever you choose to
In
delay.
2 more minutes, at 12:20, I'll leave. Okay.
It is closed.
Yeah. I think we are here. I'm going to tell Mr. Porus to also close. I have closed the room. They'll come back. Yeah, I think they're coming back. I think there was a time given 12:20, which I closed the room. So we are coming back to the main forum now. Yeah.
Ketan, in 10 minutes, I would have to drop off too.
Yeah, I think we should be done in 10-15 minutes, Anandji. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
I think there's never enough time for these,
I know.
We have to draw a line somewhere.
Absolutely.
I don't know what happened to them. Oh, there. Porus is here.
Hi, our team is here.
Yeah, we are all. I think everybody's back here.
Okay.
Venkat is the only one, Porus, who might have to deal in immediately. He has to pick up his son.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ketan, can you summarize what your team came up with as far as what they thought they could work together on?
Sure. I mean, well, actually, it was a very less time, but I jotted down 2 points that I thought both sides were trying to say. And correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Barai, Nanji, Venkat, and Sammy. If I'm wrong, the 2 points I gathered was, which both sides, team 1, team 2, feel is progress. That overall progress is happening, but that is the focus that should be. And second point is supporting any issue, irrespective of religion or community. Anything you want to add, team?
Yeah, it should be. Ketan, I would add, should be based on the merits and ideology, not based on the religion.
Okay, should be based on merits. So these 2 common points that I thought came out from that quick 10-minute discussion.
When you said progress overall, what do you mean?
So focus on moving the country ahead, progress in terms of on the ground issues and not on community, religion. That's what I thought both sides were, agreeing to. We obviously, Porus, we couldn't discuss much depth into that, but that was more a point touched upon.
Good. Any of your team members want to add anything?
I think progress means like better economic opportunities, better living conditions for the people, better healthcare. Progress is a very generic word, but underlying all the elements within that, because that definitely impacts everybody irrespective of religion, if there is a progress there.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna speak on the notes that I gathered from Team 2, from the second breakout session. They said we could all help together on certain issues. And the issues they pointed out was to help the migrants or the poor people when they had to migrate due to the close down, to help them during COVID. They talked about the concept of getting together for dinners, like langars, where intercommunal dinners would be helpful. They talked about when they have these intercommunal dinners, they also have doctors and nurses to help with medical needs. They talked about having love for each other. And they talked about the importance of winning confidence of the minorities. They said that we should not have division based on religion, ideology. We should not divide ourselves based on religion or ideology. That was their take point. Anybody in that second group, if you would like to make any additional comments, please do that.
Yeah, I'll make a comment. I think what we talked about was that we should find common grounds and work on issues rather than discuss philosophies, because there's no real convergence if we start discussing philosophy. And what we said about that was that let's find a way. For example, there are poverty issues, there are other issues, there are issues related that you mentioned. Let us find a way to come together on those specific issues rather than have huge philosophical discussions, and see if we can help people who are really in need, because we in America are to a large extent much more fortunate than people who are living in poverty in India. So let's find a way to not debate and discuss philosophy, but rather make a difference on the ground in India, rather than, so that is, I think that was one of the key takeaways, because we can always discuss, ideologies and philosophies and someone's rights with someone else's rights and things like that. That does not help people who are suffering on the ground. So let's find a common ground where we can help people who are really in need.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining. We took you through an exercise in the beginning, and you all were great participants. We appreciate your time and attendance. We have taken you through what is called the Brave Angels discussion. The Brave Angels discussion started with Abraham Lincoln when he tried to unite America during the Civil War. Today, Brave Angels is going on, and 60,000 Americans have used this technique. And for any further information on how it can be done, so you can expand this, I suggest you go to Brave Angels website. Just type in Brave Angels, and you will see what we have done has followed their format. Thank you very much for joining. This meeting is recorded, and Ketan, could you send out a copy to all the attendees?
Yes.
May I quickly thank Porus for his initiative and Ketan for organizing this Zoom meeting so very well, including the breakout sessions. That indicates his technological prowess. So thank you again, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
everybody.
much. This was a very good experience. Thank you both.
Thank you, everyone.
And thanks to everyone for participating. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Namaste.
Thanks all of you.